Hi guys, and welcome back to the Toffee Blues YouTube channel, and welcome back to another Everton live show. My name is Cameron. I'm joined by Teddy today. Big thanks to Teddy for joining us, and we're going to sit down and talk about Moise Kean. Everton obviously loaning Moise Kean out this past transfer window to PSG. Some fans were happy with that decision, other fans not so happy, but he has been on fine form, to be fair to him, since he has joined PSG. 4 goals in 2 games, 2 last night in the Champions League, couple of decent goals as well, to be fair to him. And we're here to talk about where Everton right to let Moise Kean leave, and as well, on top of that, where Everton right to allow Moise Kean to leave without bringing anybody in. Because I think if Everton had gone out in the transfer window and brought in, let's say, a lone striker for the season, there was a lot of talk around Josh King who can play there. There was a lot of talk around various other players. I know Llorente was mentioned. So if Everton had gone out and brought one of those players in to fill that sort of position that Moise Kean has, and to provide some well-needed backup for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I don't think anybody would be, I don't think anybody would be looking at Moise Kean on fire in the Champions League thinking, oh my God, it's the end of the world. But the fact that we only really have one backup to Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and that's Richarlison, naturally. And, when you're putting Richarlison up top, it's not ideal for me anyway, because I think you lack so much when he's not on the left-hand side, as shown on Sunday against Southampton. Everybody's game was affected. I was listening to the Toffee TV podcast with Teddy on himself yesterday, and Teddy brought up a great point and said it's not just the man-for-man quality that you lose when Richarlison and Seamus Coleman are out the team, but everybody else around them is affected. And you only have to look at James Rodriguez, Luca Dean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin on Sunday, and you could tell that because Richarlison wasn't there on that left-hand side to constantly provide, their games were just completely nullified. So we're going to talk about Moise Kean today, like I said, and whether or not Everton should have either kept hold of him or replaced him. Before we go into it, Teddy, how you doing, mate? How's things? Obviously, it's mad, weird times at the moment. We don't know what we are really, do we? Where we can go, when we can go, what we can do. So how are you doing? How's things?
I'm good, mate. It's nice to be on. Been wanting to come on this for a while, actually. Nice to be on, but yeah, I've got used to it now. I've been working at home since March, and to be honest, I love being in the house. So I'm one of the few lucky people who's adapted quite well to it. But yeah, it's all good. Thanks for the little throw in there for the Toffee TV podcast as well. Did that yesterday and had a really good chat with the lads there. Really enjoyed that. Yeah, let's get cracking then.
No worries at all. Definitely go and check that podcast out, by the way. It's a really good listen, and goes in depth into the Southampton game and stuff like that. I also do want to talk towards the back end of the live stream, when we spoke on Moise Kean, about the game against Newcastle on the weekend and the hope that Everton can bounce back, because this is going to really show where we sort of stand at the moment as a football club. Yes, we're in transition, and I think we're all under the impression that Carlo Ancelotti wasn't going to come in and after 6 months we'd be winning the league. But it'd be interesting to see that when we lose games of football and we don't play well, if we can go out the next week and absolutely blather teams, because I absolutely hate talking about the other lot over the park, but one thing they showed in the derby is that they come back from a massive defeat and they showed that they can just turn it on again, and if we can do that on Sunday, then that'll be that'll show where we are. So anyway, let's get into Moise Kean first. 4 goals in 2 games, 2 in the Champions League again last night. I put the goals out on our Twitter, and a lot of people were saying, oh yeah, but look at who he's playing, and it's a pub league, and it's this, and it's that, and it's the other, and that's all well and good, and that's okay saying that, but Mbappe plays in that same pub league, Neymar plays in that same pub league. All the lad can do is score goals wherever he's playing, and that's what he's doing at the moment. He seems full of confidence, doesn't he? And ultimately, I suppose this works both ways for Everton Football Club, that he's playing well. Either he comes back next summer, he's full of confidence, and Carlo Ancelotti puts his arm around him and he's in the plans for the future and he's actually happy within himself and ready to go, or somebody comes in with a big bid for him and we end up moving him on and making some money back on him. What have you sort of made of Moise Kean's time at PSG? Because I think when he left, we all sort of felt like, well, I did anyway, I felt like it was a bit of a silly move. I felt like he was leaving a club that he wasn't getting many first team appearances at to join a club that he was arguably going to get less first team appearances at, because they're obviously in a better position, let's say, than Everton. But to be fair, he's proved me wrong. They've started him a couple of games, he's on the score sheet. I dare say he'll continue playing whilst he's scoring. So firstly, what did you make of Everton letting Moise Kean go in the summer? Were you particularly unhappy about him leaving, or were you more worried about the fact that we hadn't brought anybody in to replace that position?
Yeah, I was surprised. Like, we was getting linked all summer with going back to Juventus, wasn't he? Who've got even more strikers, and I was like, nah, he's not going anywhere. Like, we've got one main striker now in Calvert-Lewin, and he's the only one underneath. And we've moved to a system now where Richarlison plays out wide, so we can't even like consider Richarlison a striker because he's already playing. So we're playing both of them. So I was very surprised that we let him go out and didn't replace him. I was not surprised that we let him go out because, let's be honest, I think it's me. I think I curse players every time I get like excited for a player to come in. I don't do it a lot now, as I've got older. But my track record of players who I've put my hat on and said they're going to be class with us is shocking. I did it with Moise Kean and I did it with Davy Klassen before that, and both of them haven't done it. So I need to stop building players in your own mind. But he's gone out, and I'm not the least bit surprised because people are looking at him now and going, well, he scored 4 goals there. It's like, yeah, but how quick have people forgot? Like, the Salford game. Yeah. He was terrible. He comes off the bench constantly and he doesn't know what he's doing, where he's meant to be. He doesn't impact the game, or at least he doesn't impact it positively. Sometimes he gets us into trouble by like taking like 3 players on the edge of his box from the defending. And I just look at him and go, well, Calvert-Lewin is our undisputed number 1 striker at the minute, and so he should be. So the bench option needs to be someone who comes on and can impact the game positively, give us something different. And he comes on and he doesn't hold the ball up, he doesn't stretch the team with pace, he doesn't do anything, he doesn't even threaten the goal. And he's not what we needed. Now we need something. I'm very surprised we let him go out and didn't bring someone else in. You mentioned Josh King. And we were also linked with that Milik, is it? From Napoli. I think we might have been able to get him if we really wanted him, but I might have probably, knocked back the opportunity to get him just because he might not be, Gotti will know all about him, might not think he's a good fit. I thought Josh King would be certain. I honestly did, because, he's on big wages in the Championship. They need to sell him, and frankly, it was either us or West Ham, and I thought, Josh King could lower his demands, or Bournemouth would, or whatever the hold-up was, and we'd get him, and he'd be able to offer us that little something off the bench, that experience, that like pace, that goal scoring. But I think the club's just looked at it and gone, right, they're asking for too much money. When the transfer window shut, there was 77 days between that window shutting and the next one opening. I think they may have just looked at it and just took a calculated risk and said, you know what, let's just hold our breath and we'll go in and we'll get through to January. And in January, if we want him still, we'll get Josh King for a cup of tea, because they'll be desperate to get rid of him. He'll only have like 4 months left on his contract, or 6 months, or whatever it is, and they'll just be desperate to get rid of him. They'll probably, all the prices for him, whether it's the player, whether it's the club, whatever, will have come down. But yeah, I'm not surprised at all that they let Moise Kean go, because he's had Ancelotti's had a good look at him now, and he mustn't have best. I don't think he's done anything other than the Newcastle game, that one Newcastle game where he looked decent for the game. Other than that, can you really point to a game and say it's been class there, or Moise Kean's ripped it up there? He's been poor in practically every performance except that one.
No, I agree completely, and I think, I just don't think he's particularly the right fit for Everton Football Club at the moment. Like you said, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is our out-and-out number 1, or number 9, number 1 striker, and he is going to be playing week in, week out. But I think coming into this season, we all sort of wanted Moise Kean to show that little bit of ambition to say, well, you know what, okay, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's number 1, but a bit like we're seeing sort of from Anthony Gordon now, knocking on Carlo Ancelotti's door, not saying I don't know whether I want to be here or strolling around on the pitch, but saying I should be there playing number 9, I should be there up front, I should be next to him. Carlo Ancelotti adopted a 4-4-2 style formation last season, and Moise Kean hardly got into the team. And, Richarlison could have played on the left in that formation, but Carlo opted to play him up front. So it was very clear, I agree, that, Carlo was, in favour of Moise Kean, certainly not fully in favour of him. In regards to the replacements, I think it is also important for me to, to sit back and realise that at the start of this transfer window, we all sort of felt like there was various positions that needed addressing, and there was sort of a hierarchy of which positions needed to be addressed first. And if you'd have said to any Evertonian, I'm sure Terry's the same, certainly myself, before, let's say the day that, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg turned around and said, I don't want to come to Everton. If you'd have said to every Evertonian at that point, do you think Everton will sort every single issue in the team within this transfer window and be good to go and fighting for, Champions League next season? We'd have said no. We have to prioritise midfield for the start, which we did. We brought in a creative presence in Hammers, who's been absolutely, he's been a revelation to the football club. And there is still positions that we need to address. Okay, natural right back maybe one, depending on how John Joe Kenny does. Brought Ben Goffrey in, who can play there, but ultimately, is ideally as a centre half. Goalkeeper's another one that was thrown out, but striker again is one that Carlo Ancelotti come out and he sort of addressed and said, look, we've got a lot of attacking options now. I understand that we have a lot of attacking options. I'm with Terry. I think it's strange that we didn't bring somebody in to directly replace Moise Kean in terms of his position, not necessarily because he was, absolutely instrumental to the squad, but just to replace having somebody on the bench. You look at the game against Southampton, we didn't have a striker on the bench to come on, and I've seen a couple of people, throwing their hand towards Ellis Sims and maybe giving him a chance, but ultimately that's a risk, and it's a risk that we don't know whether it would come through or not, and we also don't know whether Carlo Ancelotti would want to take that, because for me, if Carlo would have been looking at Ellis Sims thinking this kid could do it in the Premier League, he'd be coming off the bench in games, he'd be getting 10 or 15 minutes, he'd be starting Carabao Cup games. So that for me is our biggest worry sort of going into this season, and certainly looking at the Southampton game, is that Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't going to put a 10 out of 10 performance in every single week. He's going to struggle. There's some things that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is brilliant at. For example, if you put a ball in the box, in the air, it's getting on Dom's head, and 9 times out of 10 it's going in. But sometimes teams, address that, and sometimes teams come at us and stop us from putting balls into the box and stop us from getting into Dominic Calvert-Lewin's head. So, at those times you need a striker that's going to pick the ball up and run at defenders and force something to happen. And I agree, I don't think Moise Kean was that player. So I think it's more a case of not that we weren't right to let Moise Kean go because he was the type of player that could come on and change games, because like Terry said, that game against Salford for me was a disgrace. He was playing League 2 opposition, he should have ran riot, and I know it's easy to say that, but realistically he scored a penalty in the last couple of minutes and he didn't seem interested. Even the game against Fleetwood he scored a decent goal, but he didn't really do anything, or have got them mixed one way round. Both of those games he didn't seem interested when he was playing, and that's a worry when you've got a lad that should be tearing it up, like Anthony Gordon was when he was playing, for example. Niles Nkunku absolutely tearing it up, and you've got Moise Kean, who's again being rumoured to be leaving to Juventus and all of these sides after him, but he's not tearing it up in League Cup games against League 2 opposition. So I agree. For me, look, I think he probably has wanted to go for the large part of the summer. I think he's wanted a fresh start. I think he probably wanted a move, to be honest, over a loan, but we've probably said would rather it be a loan, and I think PSG rather it be a loan. But Moise Kean has a fantastic season at PSG, then fair enough, somebody comes in and pays, hopefully more than what we paid for them, if not at least somewhere near what we paid for them, and we sell him, because he's just not a fit, is he, for Everton and for how we want to play, and his attitude just doesn't seem to be how it needs to be, or it doesn't seem to come across like that on the field. And like you said, Terry, if Carlo Ancelotti was really, really in favour of him, even though Carlo spoke very, very highly of him, but I've said this a couple of times, Carlo Ancelotti's come out in numerous press conferences, and when he's asked about a player, he won't slag them down, he won't slate them. He'll say, if they've made a mistake in a game, he'll say they need to do better. He said it about Sigurdsson towards the back end of last season. He said, Sigurdsson come out and said, I've had a conversation with Carlo and he's very, very happy with me. He likes how I play, he's excited by me. And everyone sort of thought, that's it, not signing Allen, not signing Decore, not signing Ames, Sigurdsson's in the team week in, week out next year. And there was loads of fume. 4 weeks later, 5 weeks later, we've signed 3 midfielders and Sigurdsson's coming on the last 10 minutes. So I wasn't surprised. I think Carlo's actions and the fact that Moise Kean wasn't, getting as many opportunities as maybe he should have, or maybe we would have thought he would, showed where Carlo's sort of mindset was on him. But you can't. The lad's doing okay at PSG. I think I've seen a stat today. It's took him 2 games to score the same amount of goals as that it took him to score in 37 appearances for Everton. he's just more of a suit, isn't he, for that style of football over there, for having players that are constantly putting it on the plate where he doesn't have to do an awful lot of running around. I don't liken it to Lukaku, because Lukaku's a world-class striker who was absolutely brilliant at Everton, but Lukaku is ripping it up in the Italian league now. He is absolutely brilliant. I think he scored something like 30 plus goals last season, and that's because you look at that league and you think that suits him down to an absolute T, and it almost seems like the French league might suit Moise Kean down. But realistically, Terry, if he has a fantastic season, do you think PSG would come in for him and spend 40, 50 million, or do you think they'd just say, nice one for that, see you later, you fill the gap?
I don't think they'd pay that, but I think they will definitely buy him if he carries on playing well, because I think this loan is just a shop window exercise at this point now. Like, we're not guaranteed, because he's still our player. If we turn around and want him again, then that's one thing. We might just decide, yeah, we want him back. He's done really well. We're going to give him another go, but we're going to do this. But listen, you're either an Everton player or you're not, and he's not. Like, if he's got there's 3 forwards at the club, 3 senior forwards, and it's Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, and Moise Kean. And look at the difference between Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin and Moise Kean. Like, Richarlison at one point last season had more tackles than anyone in the Premier League. He was a forward. Calvert-Lewin has got a dog's abuse for years. He was getting played here, there, and everywhere. Everyone's saying he was a championship striker, and now look at him. He's the top scorer in the Premier League. Moise Kean as well. Let's be honest. I don't think he fancied it at Everton. Like, he's gone from being at Juventus, where he's going to training with Ronaldo every day, and let's be honest, he's playing in Italy. He's an absolute speed merchant over there. Like, Italy's a great league, but the defenders aren't fast. He's probably absolutely smoking them all. And then he gets here and it's like, these centre-backs are all rapid. I can't just get away from them like I did in the league. And, the French league's a little bit faster than the Italian league. It's a little bit closer to what the Premier League is. But he might find himself a little bit more comfortable there, because his ego's, like, picked up a bit and his confidence has grown. I'm playing alongside Mbappe and Neymar, and, they're just going to put chances on a plate for me. Whereas at Everton, you'll get chances, but you've got, Dominic Calvert-Lewin has been reaping the benefits of chances, but he still works very hard off the ball. I don't think Keane's got that in him, and that's what every Everton player needs. Like, you need to fight as an Everton player, and it doesn't mean you need to be a dog, even though that's the way the media think we are now. But like Luca Dean, even like, the red card notwithstanding, he shouts at the referee and he's always given 110%. I've said Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, look at Holgate, look at Allen. You need to be a bit of a scrapper if you're an Everton player. You need to fight for your place and fight for your shirt. Moise Kean doesn't want to do that. Moise Kean wants to just sprint alongside another player who's got the ball and just tap in their pass. And if he's really good at that, I reckon we'll get, like, if he carries on, we'll get 30, maybe a little bit more million for him, and that'll be a small profit on him and be great for the FFP. But we're not getting massive money for him, because the other clubs don't want to pay massive money. The only clubs who will pay massive money will be other Premier League clubs, and no one from the Premier League they've all been chased off signing him now after seeing him in this league.
No, I agree, absolutely spot on. And like you said, you look at the drop off in quality between Moise Kean, Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, and you're right, if Moise Kean was an Everton player now, okay, we'd have that option, which is nice. But, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin picked up an injury, I couldn't sit here and say I'd be confident with Moise Kean going out for 3 or 4 games and doing, anywhere near the job that Dominic Calvert-Lewin does. I think you brought up a really, really good point there, brilliant point about work rate and fighting and having that spirit, and that's something that Richarlison brings in absolute bundles full. And yes, it will have a negative effect in certain games when he throws in a tackle, but that shows that he's got the passion. That shows that he's frustrated with his own performance. It shows that he's frustrated with not getting on the score sheet. It shows that he wants to be involved. Also, defensive work rate, he is second to none, specifically Richarlison. When he plays on that left-hand side, he is always helping Luca Dean out. He's always back. He's always making challenges. Again, another thing that we massively missed from Iwobi on Sunday was that he just didn't have that defensive work rate. He wasn't getting back. He was leaving Luca Dean on his own. So, no, I agree completely. I think, I just don't think he was a right fit for us. I don't think he's a striker that wants to, really get in and do the hard work. And I think his idea of doing the hard work is maybe doing a few step overs on our box, and that's not, what it should be. It should be busting your bollocks for 90 plus minutes. And, you look at Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and very rarely, you might say, okay, he's missed a couple of chances. You might say he hasn't really been involved, but very rarely do you see Dominic Calvert-Lewin come out looking like he doesn't need a shower. He gives it 110% every time he's on there. He puts it all, he leaves it all on the field. And that, I think, a big reason behind Everton fans loving Dominic Calvert-Lewin, specifically me, I think he's brilliant, is not only because he's improved every single year, but he showed that work rate. Through the lockdown, I always talk about this, through the lockdown, again, this is obviously beyond the point in regards to, I'm not going to compare him to Moise Kean, but he was there every single night putting videos up of him doing extra work, putting videos up of him doing sit-ups in his garage and kicking the ball in the garden. That wouldn't have been Everton wouldn't have said, hey, do a few sit-ups there and film it and put it on social media, because no other players were doing it, no other Everton players were doing it. That would have been Dominic Calvert-Lewin wanting to make sure that when he comes back, he's in absolute tip-top shape. And okay, he didn't have a great back end of the season, but he come back into the new season and he's been absolutely fantastic. Even on Sunday, didn't have many chances, but he ran his arse off and he got involved, and he done what he needs to do with very minimal creativity. And, because we were completely overrun as well. So, no, I agree, Terry. I think you're spot on. I think, it just doesn't work for Everton, and he isn't an Everton player, you're right. And ultimately, it's unfortunate because he come in and I think we all had this big expectation. I was the same as you, mate. You weren't alone. I thought we've got one of the best young players in world football. He's going to hit the ground running. But, do you think it's a league thing then? Because I always look back at the likes of Angel Di Maria joining Manchester United, and when Angel Di Maria joined Manchester United, for me, he was in the top 4-5 best players in world football. I think he'd just come off winning a Champions League, and I thought he's going to absolutely tear them apart here. And he turned up and he had a couple of good games against Everton. But then other than that, he massively struggled and ended up leaving a couple of seasons later. We have seen a few players, Falcao was another one, who have come to the Premier League with massive names. Obviously, Moise Kean didn't have a massive name, but he did have a little bit of an expectation to him and just not do it. Do you think that's, what Moise Kean's trouble's been, and he's just more ideal for, a slower league? I know you said, obviously, about the defenders in Italy. I think you're spot on with that point. Do you think the French league suits him down to a T then, or do you think he'd probably be best moving forwards back to Italy or somewhere else?
You see, the difference with Keane and the likes of Angel Di Maria and players like that is it could be an age thing with Moise Kean, because he's only young, he's only still a teenager, so he could get to the point where it's when he's 23, he's well up for the Premier League, but we've just got him too early. With those players, it is very much a league thing, but there isn't a great record of Italian players making the transition from Italy to the Premier League. It's probably I think personally the two most different leagues in the whole of the top 5 European leagues, because one's more tactical, one's more not as much physical but fast. Like, I'm not even saying, because that's like an old time cliche that Italy is slow. It's not as slow as it used to be, but the Premier League is the fastest, and it's that small marginal difference of that he can't just burn off the defenders like he did in Italy. You watch his highlights when he was in Juventus, they're always the same type of goal. They're always like a counter-attacking goal where he's got the opposition centre-back on his skates, either backtracking, trying to get back and shimmy him, or he's chasing him back to the goal and he's just got no chance of catching him. Whereas here, he didn't seem to ever be able to get away from his man. Obviously, there was some games like Salford, but he couldn't get the ball in the first place to try and beat a man because it kept bouncing off him. But you don't know with Keane just because he's so young. It could just be an age thing where he gets better when he gets older. Because at his age, Harry Kane wasn't doing it. But, when you look at him now, he's, one of the best strikers in the world. So with Keane, you never know. But the problem we've got is we've got him now. We can't wait for him to be 23. We either make a decision now and, he could, we could bring him back. He could have that season and we speak to him, he goes, right, I'm ready to come back. I just don't think he will. I think he'll say, right, I'd rather be at PSG. He doesn't support Everton. Why wouldn't he? I'd rather be at PSG, missing some of their big games, sitting on the bench, than being at Everton, missing all your games, where, not getting in ahead of Calvert-Lewin. And then I think we probably let him go because, he's not been brought in under Ancelotti. And Ancelotti might sit down and says, right, next summer I've got this player in mind who's only young, who can come in and be my second striker to Calvert-Lewin, but we can't get him until next summer. So I don't mind Keane going out as long as he plays and gets himself a move to generate the funds to accommodate this signing. It could, that's the type of long distance thinking. The problem, we're sitting here as fans not knowing whether that's true or not, or if it is true, we've got no idea who that player is. Brands could have players lined up and go, right, we tried him, didn't work, we're going to send him back out. Same way with Lookman, same way with Vlasic. Came in, didn't, looked promising, but didn't really establish themselves at Everton. But they're only young, so we got our money back for them, no problem. It's the other players who we can't shift, who are old and on wages. He's on apparently, modest wages for a Premier League player, Moise Kean. So we'll shift him like that if we want to, and I just think it's as simple as that. It's just the case now of do well at PSG and we'll make money on you. Do badly at PSG, we'll lose money on you. And so far, so good.
It's a business, innit? Ultimately, it's a business, and I think you're absolutely spot on. You again, really good point about age there. All of a sudden, if you bring Moise Kean back and Carlo Ancelotti will know what he wants to do, and I've got full faith that Carlo Ancelotti will do the right thing for the club. But if he brings him back and then says, right, okay, we're going to give you 2 seasons now, and Moise Kean still can't do it in the Premier League, then you're losing even more money. So this might be that financial chance for the club to say, go out, do well on loan, come back, and we can sell you as a young lad who again has just gone out and scored however many goals for PSG in the Champions League and in Ligue 1 and playing next to these players, whereas it would be a risk to bring him back because I agree. I don't know. You're right. He is very, very young and has still got a lot of time. And I wouldn't be surprised one day if Moise Kean's playing in the Premier League and ripping it up. But again, I think it's also a lot to do with the player. I just, like you said, I just don't think he was comfortable. I don't think he wanted to be here. He had no affiliation to Everton. He come in under a different manager. Okay, he's still coming under Marcel Brands. But if you're Carlo Ancelotti, you're looking at it thinking, you're not providing... He's not giving Dominic Calvert-Lewin a kick up the arse in training. He's nowhere near as good as Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the air for a start. He's not as clinical as Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He doesn't bring the work rate. He's not as big and physical. His touch is nowhere near as good as Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So it's not even like he was there to provide competition. He would have been there to come in if Dom had to drop out, but it would have been a massive drop-off. So going on to options then in regards to strikers, because this is where I sort of sit and think this is the big issue for me, or the bigger issue. It's not so much that we let Moise Kean go out on loan. I wasn't particularly bothered again. I was a little bit surprised by it because it happened so late on and we didn't give ourselves much of a chance to bring somebody else in, but I wasn't massively surprised that Moise Kean would have wanted to go out on loan. You could see by the Salford game, you could see by his celebration, he didn't want to be here, and that's fine. My sort of bigger worry is, more so over Moise Kean leaving, is the lack of option backup for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Now, I know we have Richarlison there, but for me, like I said, I think you lose so much when Richarlison's not on the left-hand side. Carlo Ancelotti come out and said that Everton have got a lot of attacking options, and when you look at it, you think, you've got Iwobi, you've got James, you've got Dom, you've got Richarlison, you've got Gordon, you've got Bernard, you've got maybe Sigurdsson could fit into there as well if you wanted to. So we have got a lot of attacking options, Terry, but we haven't got many options of players that could play directly up front. Now, do I think James Rodriguez could play a striker? James Rodriguez could play anywhere. He could play, the fella doing the commentary, and he'd still be absolutely brilliant because he could just do anything. But imagine how much creativity we would miss if James Rodriguez was the striker. He probably wouldn't get half the chances because he creates the chances. So unless he was creating them himself and then running up to finish them, it would be very difficult. Again, Richarlison can play there, but for me, ideally, I like him on the left. Again, not only for that quality that he brings with the cross ball from James to him or from Dean to him, but also the defensive work that you massively miss out on. Again, Gordon, never seen him play up front. He's actually played in midfield for the under-23s. Bernard, same in terms of not playing there. Sigurdsson, haven't really seen him playing there. Iwobi either. So in terms of striking options then, rather than attacking options, I understand the club might have said, look, we'll just see how it goes until January, but have you got a slight fear that if Dominic Calvert-Lewin did pick up an injury or a suspension, even if Richarlison was still in the squad, that would still be missing a massive part of our team, even if Richarlison went to centre forward, because then we'd have to replace him on the wing, and we tried that on Sunday and it didn't work, did it?
Yeah, I mean, the other option is Richarlison, isn't it? And that would have a negative knock-on effect on the rest of the team. Whereas if you've got Richarlison in the middle doing Calvert-Lewin's job, then we've now seen from that Southampton game that we haven't really got anyone else who'll do Richarlison's job. Now, Allison's a quality player, so he will make a better go of, Dom's job than it will be made of his. Like, he will just at it. But the way you got to look at it, I suppose, is look around the Premier League and look at each club, and they've only, whether they play one up front in a 4-5-1 or they play a front three, they've only got, most clubs have got two central striking options. They've got a main one and they've got a backup. Now, we just play our backup, as it were. Like, we play him on the left, which is a risk, because then you can possibly get both of them injured. And I think that's all we'll do when we come to bring in someone else, whether we bring Kean back or whether we bring someone in January or the summer. We'll bring in one person, and look, like Liverpool have got Firmino, and then after that they've got Origi. Like, Tottenham for the longest time only had Kane. Now they've got that Vinicius. Like, City have got Aguero and Gabriel Jesus. We effectively have got two, but we play both of them. If the two of them were to get injured, because obviously most of those clubs don't play both of their striker options, there's one on the bench. If we got both injured, then what would happen if any of those clubs had both of them injured? They'd struggle. Like, Man City have got one of the best squads in the world, and they've got both of their strikers injured at the minute, so they're now going to struggle to hit their normal form, because no matter how many good players they've got two injuries in a position where they've only got two players. We'd end up doing, I mean, if the two of them got injured, we'd end up with like Sigurdsson up front as a false nine, which is horrendous to think of, but when you think of everyone else, it's probably the only halfway passable thing you could do.
The best of the evils, isn't it?
And you just hope we don't have to do it. But clubs and managers especially like carrying like compact squads so they can coach them more. And I think that's all we're doing. We're just literally taking a gamble, saying, most clubs would usually have another striker on the bench because Richarlison's on the pitch, so we're not really counting him. He's a winger, but we've got an abundance of other wingers. Now, they're all not a patch on Richarlison, but they might just look at it like that, going, well, if it happens, then we'll have to just shift Richarlison and play Iwobi or Bernard or Gordon or however, whichever way we do it. They've probably took that pragmatic view of it, going, numbers-wise, we've got the size squad that other teams have got. We just haven't got the balance right because we're only one transfer window into Ancelotti's reign, and they probably sat down and said, rather than just spend money on a stopgap, let's just take the chance. It worked last season with Holgate. We went into I felt we only had two senior centre backs going into the season in Mina and Keane, and Holgate finished the season as one of the one who's starting more than anyone. Like, he went from third choice to first, and that's not to say another, it'll be the making of another player, but I think the club's probably thought, well, we got away with it then, let's have another go, because it's an even smaller window now. It's before the next window of just over 2 months.
No, I agree. Completely spot on, completely. And again, we have to sort of keep reminding ourselves, don't we, that we had a lot of issues coming into this season, a lot of issues, and we have solved a lot of those issues, but it was always going to take 2 or 3, maybe even more transfer windows for Carlo to get the right balance, like Terry said, to get the right squad. And Carlo, when he first come in, as he spoke quite openly about the want to trim the squad down and the want to have only 23 players in the first team squad, whereas when he first come in we had something like 30, 35. Hence the decision to keep Yannick Bolasie and Mo Besic out, hence the decision to send Theo Walcott and Moise Kean out on loan. He wants it to be a tight group of players, and you're right, I think the club probably are saying, well, if Dom gets injured, Richie goes there and we just have to put up with whoever goes in replace of Richarlison. I think this Sunday will be a big question and test for that. We will get in the live comments in just a moment. If you're not enjoying, please do hit that like button. By the way, do really, really appreciate it. Like I said, we will get into the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and share the stream as well. But I think Sunday will be a big sort of test for that, because I'm expecting Anthony Gordon to start on Sunday. Now, again, it will not surprise me if Alex Iwobi started, but I just think with Alex Iwobi's performance against Southampton and obviously Anthony Gordon coming on and looking quite lively, he didn't massively changed the game obviously, but he looked the most lively out of anybody on the pitch at that time. I think if Anthony Gordon starts, this is a big opportunity for him. It's a big opportunity because he has been a player that's knocked on Carlo Ancelotti's door at Finch Farm and asked why he isn't starting. And for a young player of his age, to go and knock on a 3-time Champions League winning manager and say, why aren't I starting games? It's big for him. Hang on, I think we're back, yeah. I think we're back anyway. We're back, I think, I hope. I literally said to Terry about 5 minutes before we started streaming, we could be technical issues pending here because my computer just I think it's one of them that just on like Thursdays and Fridays thinks, nah, you know what? I only work 2 days a week, so I'm fucking chilling here. I'm going off. So we're back. Anyway, we're back. We'll get back into talking about what we were talking about. John, you might have to just cut that 15-minute segment out there where me and Terry were talking about 110s and the New York's versions of Air Force Ones having a much cooler name, and 110's not even costing 110. It was a great conversation, to be fair. You missed out. But we'll just briefly sum up the Anthony Gordon conversation, because I'm just cautious that the stream went off at some point throughout that conversation. So we were just saying about Anthony Gordon being a more, sort of a better fit for that left-hand side than Iwobi is, or even a Bernard. What we saw from Iwobi on Sunday was that, for me, once 25 minutes when he's got the ball to make a decision, which is so polar opposite to Richarlison, who's already made his decision before he gets the ball. And I think that's why James Rodriguez loves Richarlison so much, is because James knows before he gets the ball that when he gets it, it's going right over to Richarlison, and he knows that when Richarlison gets it, it's coming in the box. So that's already sorted while Michael Keane's got the ball in defence. Whereas when it's Iwobi wants the ball, wants to take it down and then make his decision, but by then the defenders come over and either clattered him or got it off him, so it's not quick enough. So if you don't mind, Terry, we were just talking about Anthony Gordon and how he could be a better fit. This could be his big chance on Sunday, couldn't it? And this could be a big time to get in there and really stake his claim for Carlo Ancelotti and say to him, look, if Richarlison's out or Dom's out and Richie has to go in there, I'm coming in.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do the short version. So I think a lot of people want to see Gordon in this game because Iwobi and Bernard literally didn't make a very good go of it against Southampton. They both got about a half each, didn't they? Like to try and I think that exactly what it was.
Iwobi got took off at half time and Bernard come on at half time.
Yeah, and the two of them didn't really make a big splash, did they? Whereas, Gordon, at the very least, you could say is more of a similar profile. Not quality-wise, there's no comparison between him and Richarlison, but the actual, sort of template is the same. Like, they want to get on, when they get on the ball, they want to run at the goal, they want to be direct, they want to take a man on, they want to make that run. Whereas Iwobi and Bernard, their natural game is to shift it and move inside and look for a runner. It's like, no, you're meant to be the runner if you're replacing Richarlison. Yeah. Like, I reckon James Rodriguez could take that ball, close his eyes and just float it to the left, and so either Richarlison or Dean are going to get it no matter where he sticks it. Yeah. Whereas when it was Iwobi and Bernard, the two of them sort of wanted to be the James on the other side, so there was no like out ball to run, there was no option. Yeah. So Gordon, we don't want to get too blown up on the kid because it's not helpful for him. We've done this before and it's worked against young players. But the other two options on that left hand side to replace Richarlison, I don't think they're like a comfortable fit. I think Gordon, of the three of them, will be the least sort of awkward fit. Yeah. He'll go in there and he'll provide something similar to what Richarlison does, at least in an attacking sense. Yeah,
no, I agree absolutely, completely. He is. Look, we don't have a like-for-like replacement to Richarlison because he's one of the best young players in the world, in my opinion, so it's very difficult to do that, but I agree. I think the most similar is Anthony Gordon, and, let's be honest, he can't make any less of it than what Iwobi and Bernard did because they absolutely had no effect on the game. And, like we said earlier on, I think we were still live and we were talking about, Anthony Gordon knocking on Carlo Ancelotti's door and begging for his opportunity. What, better of a way is for Ancelotti to say, okay, you're going out against a okay Newcastle team, a decent Newcastle team who've been grinding out the odd result. Go out and show that you can be a Premier League footballer. Go out and show me that next week against Manchester United, you should be in there starting against, Manchester United and having you go then. Whereas if we start with Iwobi or Bernard, I think we're going to have much of the same as not good enough, mediocre performances by players that just simply don't, can't fill the boots of a Richarlison. Let's get into the live comments then, before my computer flies off. Philip says, the thing is with Kean, he simply didn't seem to want to be with Everton. Hopefully he keeps doing well and we get a decent fee for him. There you go. Hopefully. Wayne says, hey Phil, hi. Paul says, the kit man would score for PSG. There you go. Can the kit man sign for Everton? Can he play up front? For that.
I know one of the kit men, so I doubt it.
Well, you never know. Listen, I'm sitting here watching Everton thinking, I could float a pair of boots down to Duncan Ferguson there, and Dom looks a bit tired. Fernando says this kid is the new Balotelli, bad attitude, too cocky, hasn't won anything to be the way he is, won't keep his place at PSG for long. Well, if he keeps scoring, he'll still be in there, won't he? Because they give him a start in the Champions League last night and he scored twice, so I assume he'll start again, especially with Mbappe and Neymar playing on either one of the wings. What do you make of that?
I think that's harsh. He's not notorious for having a bad attitude like Balotelli, who just, wanted to be, we all thought he was hilarious at first, Balotelli, didn't we? But, he's not like that, but he's obviously very young and very naive, and it's not a case of, I don't think it's a case of he's not committed. I think he's just not a... Actually, I suppose it is that he's not committed. I think he's not committed enough. He obviously wants to do well, and he thinks he's working hard, but if you compare him to other players, when his work rate's nothing compared to them, is it? So I think it's not so much of a bad attitude. It's just he doesn't have the required levels of work rate.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's Balotelli levels, definitely not.
Yeah, fair enough. Wayne says, Moise never played with the team that we have now with the midfield, the confidence, the creativity. He was just brought on in lost games with no one creating. You could probably make an argument that he wasn't given the best of opportunities, but he was given an awful lot of opportunities. And again, it's more, sort of the game against Salford. Okay, he didn't have James Rodriguez, playing on either side, but he should have been taking that by the scruff of the neck for me. And ultimately, look, I think, as much as I think Carlo Ancelotti probably wasn't too against sending Moise Kean out on loan, I think that decision's come from Moise Kean. I think if Moise Kean had turned around and said, look, I'll stay here, I'll fight for my place, I'll keep my head down, I'll be the backup, I think Ancelotti would have said, yeah, sound, happy days. I think that's more come from Moise Kean saying, I don't want to be here, I want to be somewhere else, I want a fresh start, sort of, and ultimately that's why he's playing for PSG. Again, it was a mad transfer because I was just sitting there going, how'd you go from not being good enough for Everton to going to PSG, who've just been in a Champions League final? It's the manager thing, innit? Where, Roberto Martinez leaves Everton and in a bad fashion, now is managing Belgium. Ronald Koeman, now Barcelona manager. David Moyes went to Man United and all that didn't work out, but the old Everton manager thing where managers leave and then next minute it's like, have you got that job? But
yeah,
it's one of them. Jem says, about the team title, I don't think we'll miss him at all. We will get our money back at least, that I do know, so no harm at all. Well, let's hope so. If we do sell him, let's hope so. It would be good for financial fair play as well, like Terry said before. When we says he has had good performance, but we wasn't getting any sort of consistent play last season because we were awful and couldn't carry or help a young player with scraping games. That's true, but a lot of the conversation around consistency from Moise Kean is a lot of people wanted them to play, including me at times last season when we weren't amazing going forward, is wanted them to play in a sort of 10-game stretch and get a real opportunity, which is fair, but he's not going to play in a 10-game stretch this season with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Unless Dom's out injured for 10 games, he ain't playing for 10 games because you miss so much without Dominic Calvert-Lewin in the team. And a big thing you miss without Dom that I don't think Moise Kean brings is that just work rate. But I'm not saying that in terms of saying Moise Kean doesn't work hard. It's just a different type of work rate. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin works in places that he probably shouldn't be working in terms of picking the ball up in positions that realistically other people should be doing, but if he sees they're not doing it, he'll do it. Eugene says, I think Everton will get back to winning ways against Newcastle United this Sunday. Jem says, anyone know how much an official Alexander Pistone signed shirt is worth? An official one as well. Teddy, any ideas for me?
I don't know, to be honest. I remember Alessandro Pistone, I don't know whether you do, but Oh mate, he was in the team that finished fourth, and God knows how, because he was the weak link in the team every time. I did not rate him, but his shirt I suppose that might be considered retro now, because it's been so long. But
he finished in the Champions League space with Everton.
Yeah.
Who knows? I'd probably say eBay's the best shout to just go on and Google and see what they're saying, or just lash it up for something and see what people say. Jem says, I'm just curious. Philip says, I've not seen Sims, but he does seem to be getting the cold shoulder. Carlo sees him all the time. He's got a lot of development to do. Ellis Sims, look, he is doing well in the under-23s. He's scored a lot of goals. He's getting involved an awful lot. Don't know if anybody caught the under-23s game against Manchester United on Friday. He scored in that game, but he had a massive opportunity to score. You can actually watch the highlights on Man United's YouTube channel if you're wanting to check out. They lost 2-1 with a last minute penalty, but he had a massive opportunity to score at 1-0. We were winning 1-0, where their defender and goalkeeper just clattered into each other. And he had basically a one-on-one, but he wanted to get closer towards the goal, and by the time he'd made his decision, Brandon Williams had got back to clear it. So, maybe, but I just think he's still got a little bit of working on to do. But he's at that age, and Ellis Sims, 19 years old. You sort of look at him now thinking, okay, I'm not saying he should be in the team week in, week out, but he should either be at least an option off the bench or out on loan at someone playing week in, week out. Because you then go to next season where he's 20, then you might bring him on the bench or send him out on loan, and then all of a sudden he's 21, 22, and you're looking thinking, what's the next step for this lad? What do you think on Ellis Sims, Terry? Do you think that he should sort of at least be on the bench, even for just that experience of being there and maybe being brought on in games that, for example, the Brighton game when we were comfortably winning, or the West Brom game towards the end when we know we had that game boxed off, maybe bringing him on for 10, 15 minutes and saying, go out and just sort of play your game, not saying bring him on in a derby with 5 minutes to go? Or do you sort of think maybe a loan's better for him at the moment and get him a Championship club? And he said Champions League then, you never know. But a Championship club where he's playing week in, week out.
I mean, probably a loan. Because Carlo Ancelotti has managed them all. Like, he's seen the greats of the game. He's not stupid. He knows what he's doing. And he mustn't think he's ready. Yeah. I mean, it's not even that he doesn't even trust younger players. Was anyone crying out for Anthony Gordon to play before the derby at the beginning of the restart games last year? That took everyone by surprise. Everyone was aware of Anthony Gordon, but nobody thought for a second, that's it, he's starting in the derby. Jared Brantwaite, he's come in. He was meant to be going right in the under-23s. They went, nope, he's playing with the first team. He's training with the first team. He's playing Premier League games now.
And Kunku as well.
In Kunku, if Ancelotti thinks they've got something, he will use them.
Yeah.
Whereas Ellis Sims hasn't been used yet. He's in and around the first team, so they've obviously got an eye on him and think, yeah, there's a kid with something there. Let's see how it goes. But he hasn't made the bench yet, and that'll be for a reason. He's probably got the goal scoring touch, but not got everything else. Like, that's always the thing that you learn, really, in the under-23s, isn't it? Your football intelligence, or at least that's the idea you're meant to learn it there. Like, he might not be good. Moise Kean as playing in you said Champions League nearly with the Championship, but Moise Kean is literally playing in the Champions League out on loan because he hasn't got the right football intelligence to play for us at the minute. At least I don't think so, because he was making the wrong runs. He was not protecting possession well enough. Ellis Sims will probably be further back than that. So if Moise Kean isn't getting a shake for us, then I don't think Ellis Sims is ready either.
Yeah. Fair point. I'll have to see what Ellis Sims' future holds within the next season or so. I know the club come out and said he'll definitely be here until January, so maybe that's an indication that there'll be a move for him in January out on loan somewhere. We'll have to wait and see. Raymond says, where was Dom against Southampton? Because the team was woeful. He didn't get a look in. Moise got that, but for 10 minutes at the end of the game, PSG played him. He scored goals. Bob says, 3 opportunities, 3 on target, 2 different finishes and 1 good effort. Neymar and Mbappe missed their chances. DCL missed more than he scores, and Moise seemingly scores. But DCL's scoring world-class headers against Tottenham Hotspur away from home to get us wins that we haven't had for 10 years. Dominic Calvert-Lewin scoring in Merseyside derbies, climbing 6 foot in the air to score. He's scoring goals, he's scoring hat-tricks in the Carabao Cup. Today he's just won Player of the Round, which I didn't even think was a thing, but is right, it's a thing, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin's won it for round 4 because of his hat-trick against West Ham. So, Dom had the opportunity to match the Premier League record for consecutive goals scored at the start of the season. On Sunday, obviously he didn't, but it just shows the start he's had. Again, I just think, I agree with Terry. I think with Moise Kean, I just don't think it's a right match, to be honest. I'm not saying he's an awful footballer and he'll never be a top footballer. I'm not saying that. Look, he's doing well and fair play to him, but I just don't think him and Everton is a right match. Certainly not at the moment, anyway. Wayne says, look at the league he's playing in. I'd score for PSG. Talking about the French league. Fair enough. Where are we? Bob says Neymar and Mbappe couldn't score in the Champions League game. I didn't see it, to be honest. I seen the goals, obviously, but I didn't see the game. Steve says, alright Cam, good to see you on the Toffee Blues. Also, Terry, big fan of you both. Thank you very much, mate. Thank you very much. Eugene's going for a big 4-1 win on Sunday. We'll talk about Sunday in a moment because I want to get Terry's thoughts on the game and whether or not we can bounce back before we finish up. Wayne says, Gem type football memorabilia shop. There you go. Jem says nothing come back at all. The names of the players on the shirts are proper legends, so I'd give up now. Bob says even putting Moise Kean in the under-23s he needed and did not get game time. He's physical, as Thomas Tuchel said. Kean thinks if you put me in a baby league, I'll act the prick. There you go. Jem's talking about the Pastoni shirt. Is right. Jem says Sigurdsson and Iwobi, FFS, the list goes on. Balassi, Besic, on and on. Bob says I watch Iwobi and think he won. I'm not going to name the name of the show, but I'm sure Terry's seen the comments in there. My mouse is gone now, so I can't read any of the live comments. Hang on. We're just having the computer's just had an absolute nightmare today. Jem says, yes, it could be age with Kean, fair play, but we can't afford him taking too much time on our books with carrying a lot of wannabes. Well, Carlo spoke, again, like we said, quite heavily about wanting to trim the squad down, and was I surprised Moise Kean left the football club? No. Was I surprised we didn't bring somebody in? Maybe, but maybe Carlo, again, thought, no, we wanted to trim the squad down, so this is the chance to trim the squad down. Movie Worm Jones in the comments, he says, don't get too comfy, Terry. We just had a little bit of a laugh about that one off camera. Listen, I'm well up for doing a stream, me, Terry and Jordan. I think it'd be absolutely boss. So if you want to see that, let us know in the comments. That would be fantastic. I'm sure Terry would love to do that. I'm sure Jordan would be up for that as well. Jack says Kean is a great player, but I don't know where he fits in Everton at the moment. I think that's one of the big things, is where does he fit in. And Ethan says he has a teenager mentality, can brag that he's a player with Ronaldo and Neymar. Well, he's playing with Neymar, isn't he? Dave says, sorry mate, I cannot watch Iwobi play for us. It does bad things to me. Before we go into talking about Newcastle, what's your make on Iwobi? He gets a lot of stick, and I don't think he's a winger, personally. I don't think he's a winger. Do you think Iwobi could do a job and have a future at Everton, maybe playing in the centre of midfield, which is a position that a lot of people have sort of thought he could, adopt? Certainly, he played in there in a couple of the friendlies, I think, and he done okay. Do you think it's a case of Iwobi just not being a good enough footballer for Everton, or do you think he just can't, he's just been playing out in the wrong position and he needs to be moved into the centre?
A bit of both. He's not great, is he? Like, Arsenal fans were the same. Like, he has one game where he looks amazing, then like he has 3 where he looks crap. Like, it's just the way he is. But I don't think. I mean, I did briefly touch on this in the podcast with Toffee TV, so I don't want to chew my food twice and say the same stuff.
Oh, fair enough.
He plays a position that we don't use anymore. Like, he is ideal in his better games. If you look at Iwobi's performances for Everton, his best games are always playing in the 4-2-3-1,
number 10,
in that number 10 position. Yeah, the Sigurdsson role. Sigurdsson was playing there under Marco Silva, and until the very end, he was playing well there. Like, he was getting the goals, he was getting the assists, and before he dropped off. Whereas Iwobi was brought in, and I don't know whether he was brought in to give competition for Sigurdsson or what, but whenever he's played there, he's done well because
yeah.
he can move the ball left and right. He's got all different positions he can go to. He can get beyond the striker. He did that away at who was it against? I think it was away at Huddersfield.
Yes.
No, Sheffield Wednesday maybe. I think
in the cup.
In the cup, yeah.
Sheffield Wednesday.
He played well against West Ham at home there. He was much better there, but we now don't play that position.
Yeah.
We just don't. It's the same. It happens at all clubs. It happens to a lot of players when they change manager and the manager changes formation. Then they suddenly find themselves out in the cold. Now, right now, Iwobi is just doing a job across the pitch for us. He'll come on the right, he'll come on the left.
Yeah.
I don't think he can play in that middle three for us. He's too wasteful with the ball. He gives the ball away too much, and that will cost you if you're in the middle three.
Yeah.
If you're in that number 10 position, you've got two holding midfielders behind you who can tidy up after you. Idrissa Gana Gueye made his career doing that at Everton, just mopping up when players lost possession. It will be. I think that's why Andre Gomez has been playing in that middle three. That he's a lot more careful with the ball than any of the others are. I think it will be Sigurdsson, Bernard. I think next summer they'll all go.
Yeah.
Regardless, some of them will go for next to nothing, and some of them will go for like a little bit of money. It won't be if we can get a decent fee back for him. Certainly won't be what we paid for him, but if we can get over the 20 million mark, we'll have 2 years out of him and it's 7 million down. So, the way that looks on the books, I don't know, but we don't play with that position. Like, we've got other players who would like to play that position. James Rodriguez, but he's made the best of the position he's in. Iwobi can't seem to do it. No. He doesn't. It's just this. It's like, it reminds me of when clubs used to have strikers who were used to playing in a 2, and one of them could only play in a 2, and then they moved to one striker, and then that one who could only play in a 2, that got sort of phased out of football. And I think the number 10 is going to go like that as well, like the orthodox, 4-2-3-1 number 10.
Yeah.
Number 10s now are going to be like James Rodriguez, where they'll play on the wing or what have you. So, yeah, I don't think he's got much of a chance now, because we've got a manager who plays 2 formations and neither of them have an orthodox 10.
Yeah, no, spot on. I agree. He was, like you said, he's bought under a different manager, under a different system, and now he doesn't work under this new system. I actually do agree. I think he'll probably be shifted, next summer, as well as Bernard, as well as Sigurdsson. May even see Bernard leave before next summer. Again, it's part of that trimming the squad down, and ultimately to be able to go out and bring in players that do fit this system, and they're in positions that we do need to strengthen in. AKA maybe another striker to back up Dom. I know right back's been mentioned an awful lot, depending on how John Joe Kenny does. Newcastle then, I'm cautious of time, because John just put a comment in. Terry is doing a double shift for us tonight after this team. He's getting right into the match preview. Good luck, Terry. Is right, Terry's a trooper. I don't want to keep Terry for ages, otherwise he'll be doing the preview about 12 bells at night. One last thing we'll talk about then before we finish up. Newcastle away Sunday, big game for Everton. Big chance to bounce back. Simply, can we bounce back? And if we do, how important is that to our season?
We can, and we need to, because if we're gonna do anything this season, you need to follow up bad results with good ones. You need to, if you can win 2 out of 3, or let me rephrase that: win 2 out of 3, you're in the title race. But if you can always make sure you pick up like 7 points from 12, on a consistent basis, then you'll do well. So if you get it, we've had a draw, a defeat, now we need to win. We can't be going into that Man United game on it, because then if we draw or lose against Newcastle and you're going into the Man United game, you haven't won for 3 games.
Yeah,
you can't let bad form, like bad runs of form, creep in. Newcastle are not Southampton. They are going to. They frustrate the opposition team. They sit low. They wait for their chance. Southampton were the absolute worst type of team we could have played with the injuries we had, because they press you to death and they had pace in wide areas.
Yeah.
Now, Newcastle have got Alan St. Maxim. He's a good player. He's a maverick player. He could always hurt us, but they're not set up the same.
No.
So I think if we can bounce back and get an early goal, then we're quids in, because they're going to have to come out then and not sit in, and we'll get further opportunities. what we want to try and avoid is what, Man United nearly got caught out by, where they were 1-1 right until like the very late stages of the match, and obviously once the floodgates were open, Man United started sticking quite a few goals past them, but it was very close to dropping points against Newcastle because their game plan was coming off for the majority of the game. So it just depends on how the players bounce back, because there's some players who I think that the worst defenders might not start, like the Sigurdssons, the Iwobis, players like that. Hopefully they get changed out of the team, but the other players who didn't perform as well, who were usually in the team, hopefully you see a better performance from them, like the Michael Keanes, the Allens, players like that.
Yeah, spot on. I agree completely. Allen's been called up to the Brazilian squad today. A little bit of news, and replace Fabinho, who picked up an injury. But I agree. It is all well and good saying, Sigurdsson didn't perform well, so he needs to come out. Iwobi didn't perform well, so he needs to come out. But Sigurdsson comes out, Andre Gomez comes in, and he didn't perform well against Liverpool, so he has to step it up. Like Terry said, Michael Keane and Yerry Mina weren't great on the weekend. They need to step it up. Everybody needs to step the game up. Obviously, we're now without Luka Dean, and of course a lot falls on Niles Nkunku, and hopefully he can step in and have a great game. Hopefully, I just hope that Carlo isn't too put off by having Nkunku and Gordon on the left-hand side. My biggest worry is that he'll look at that and think that's too inexperienced. I've got to have Nkunku in there because of obviously Luka Dean's suspension, so maybe I'll go with Iwobi. Hopefully he just goes balls to the wall and says it's inexperience, but it's raw ambition and it's raw confidence, and it's two players who are going to want it a hell of a sight more than Bernard or Iwobi, because that's been proven. If they get exposed, they get exposed. Iwobi's probably going to get exposed. Bernard will probably get exposed, certainly defensively. But at least Anthony Gordon and Nkunku certainly are more direct, and they're going to have more of an ambition to do something, because they want to stake their claim in this team. They want to say to Carlo Ancelotti, look, I can be in here, I can come in if players aren't playing well enough, I can come in if players are injured. So I agree, Terry, it's a massive game. Newcastle are a team that do come out with a game plan, and they've implemented that well at times against Manchester United. Like you said, very nearly worked. Got a late penalty against Tottenham, got a point out of that game. Sometimes you just need a bit of luck. So it's not going to be easy, but it's a big chance for us to win. I'm not just going to sit here and say we're in a title race or we could win the league and get too ahead of myself, but the one sign of a really good team, and a team certainly fighting for European football, is that they lose, which is fine. Everybody loses, but the week after they come back and they don't just go out and play better than they did last week, but they go out and get right back into it and blow the team away that they're playing and put in a top performance. Because if we're on our best form and playing our best football, we'll beat Newcastle on Sunday. And if we are, then we can sit back and say, you know what, that defeat against Southampton mightn't be the worst thing, because it shows that we can be beaten and still bounce back and come back with a good mentality. Whereas if we don't win, Terry's right, with them 3 games without a win, you're going into Man United and the momentum's shifted, the heads are down a little bit, you've still without Richarlison, okay, you've got Luka Dean back, but it's vital for us to get the 3 points. Anyway, we'll finish it up there then. Big thanks to everybody for watching. Do apologise about the little technical blip in the middle of it. Unfortunately, sometimes live shows that happens. Whammy says Gomez understands defending far better as well. He isn't going to make smashing tackles, but he knows how to track and accompany his man, and has an understanding of danger. He also says Sigurdsson constantly is between where he can't intercept any pass, but he also is not close enough to anyone to affect them. This knocks on other midfielders. Ward-Prowse, for example. Eugene says if Everton want to win the Premier League, they need to beat the best. We do, simply. I can't believe we're sitting here talking about winning the Premier League. It still baffles me. Even though I don't think it's going to happen, it still baffles me.
I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, I always, whenever I read the comments, I'm always like, let's wait and see where we are. Whammy says also the worst and also sort of the middle. And John says thanks for watching, Blues. Hope you enjoyed the scene. Big thanks to Big thanks to Terry for coming on today. Really do appreciate that, mate. Listen, Jordan put it in the comments before. Let's get on, all 3 of us. In a couple of weeks or whenever the next one is, if you're available, and do another one. Big thanks for joining me today, mate. Anything to say before we finish up and close off?
No, mate, been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Really enjoyed it. I'll come on anytime.
Is right. And enjoy the match preview that Terry will be getting well involved in, and I'm sure he'll be talking more about the team and who comes in and how we can approach this game to win it. So big thanks to Terry. Massive thanks to everybody for watching live. Really do appreciate that one. Big thanks to everybody watching as a YouTube video in the comments as well. Leave your thoughts in the comments and we'll be involved with them. If you have enjoyed, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. William says take care, guys. Thank you very much. Bob Stevens says we need to win the away games to stand a chance of top 6. He also says thanks Cam and Terry. Cheers. Bob and Eugene says up the Toffees indeed. Big thanks for watching and we'll see you soon.
Alright, belter.
There we go.